So, my husband finally changed his underwear after 21 years of marriage this month. He's not completely disgusting. He has changed his pants almost every day of those 21 years, but each pair has borne a striking resemblance to the briefs his mother bought him after he left nappies behind. The other week, he suddenly announced that he was going to try boxer shorts and came back from the shop with a six-pack of tartan undies, which he modelled with great pride, and the slightly strange announcement that his nether regions had never felt more free. So after 21 years of me trying very hard not to make eye contact with those hated black briefs, a whole new era has arrived. And you might wonder where this is going and what it has to do with peace. And I promise there is a connection, because you see, I'm not a very peaceful person. I once spent a day in supposed retreat and meditation where I clenched my teeth so hard with the effort of trying to be still that my jaw hurt for days. I have a dream of myself dressed in serene white linen, writing beautiful prose in the perfect moleskin journal, but instead I'm likely to be found in a crumpled t-shirt with my cardigan on inside out, burning soup while typing distractedly into my phone. Luckily, I had the sense to fall in love with a very peaceful person indeed. A dear friend who knows us both well has described him as the steady drumbeat to my mad improvisation, and she's not wrong. This is the guy who left the replacement caravan windows on the dining table for 2 months because he just stopped noticing them, or whose response to most of the COVID-19 stuff has genuinely been to refuse to let any of it in to trouble his peace. And that actually works 90% of the time. He's not an idiot, he just has a superb ability to protect his own equilibrium. We met when I was a teenager, when through a complicated set of connections, his group of English teenagers and my group of Scottish ones formed a bond across the border. The English boys would make the trip up to Scotland, piling into their beaten up vehicles with hiking boots, tents and rucksacks to climb our superior mountains and meet some superior girls. My parents, God bless them, had a large living room with space for 4 or 5 lads to unroll their sleeping bags on the floor, and a relaxed attitude to having kit drying on the banisters. The disadvantages for them, a shortage of hot water and the stench of wet tent lingering for days, were outweighed for me at least by the opportunity to be part of a whole new social set of boys I hadn't grown up with and who'd never known me in my braces and acne phase. I pretended to love climbing Munros and camping out on the side of lochs well enough that I fitted right in. We were an intense bunch. They were charismatic Pentecostals from a church that prayed in tongues and had supernatural experiences, and we were good Scottish Presbyterians who were in equal parts terrified and intrigued, like kids entering a haunted house. Charlie was 6'3" and had to remove the driver's seat of his yellow vintage Mini Cooper and sit on the back seat to drive it. Chris once made us eat nothing but Burger Kings and Kit Kats for a whole weekend, as he'd managed to game some kind of offer on the label of the biscuits and get us free cheeseburgers. Ben had stories of partying hard in Liverpool and nights in the cells before finding Jesus. And Andy, well, he was the quietest and most normal of them all. At their church meetings, we'd start with an hour of freeform worship, the total opposite of our well-regulated hymns and psalms, with our black-suited elders in the front seats. People would cry and shake, and sometimes they'd lie full length on the floor. The singing was passionate, the fervour impressive, and I was mostly freaked out. And here's where Andy's peacefulness started to make an impression. My initial sense of him had been that compared to Chris, Charlie, and Ben, he rather faded into the background of all the drama. And in fact, when we first met, I thought he was really boring. It's fine, he thought I was a bit of a snob and a bit aloof. He was a man of few words, but when he did speak, he was gentle and funny. He had good, strong hands and just the right amount of blonde hair on his tanned, muscular arms from a summer of gardening work. His curly hair, now sadly long gone, was in a centre-parted 90s curtain style. And I found myself, during those scary church meetings, drawn to his calm. I felt like if I could just stand or sit beside him, nothing too freakish could happen. He was steady, and his spirit seemed to be at ease. So, in the years that followed, there were more road trips and more mountains climbed, and I started to feel as though I didn't want to sit beside anyone else. He was just good at being himself, and that self was profoundly peaceful. He made me laugh and he made me feel safe, and I was calmer in his company and even started to believe that I could wear linen trousers. The problem was, he was so peaceful that he often didn't notice quite what was going on around him, and my flirting skills, which I've described in a previous story, were proving decidedly ineffective this time round. 4 of us planned a summer's trip to France, and we spent the week on beaches buying bread and cheese from tiny shops with our embarrassing high school French, and waking up early to Ben praying fervently and loudly at about 6 a.m. We get it, Ben, you love Jesus, just keep the volume down before breakfast. Andy and I stood side by side at the standpipe, brushing our teeth companionably like old married couple. And I thought, I think I want to be an old married couple with this one. There was a snag though. He was so busy swimming in his inner pool of tranquility that we might actually be dead before he made the first move. I was going to have to take the initiative. On our last night in Brittany, we sat round the fire pit with local cider and Calvados on the go and the stars out above our heads. After the ferry home, I was going back to Glasgow and he was going back to Blackpool to finish his illustration course. And it felt, and that might just have been the cider, that this was my one big chance. So I asked if he wanted to go for a walk. And when we were far enough away from the others, I nervously blurted out that I was wondering if we were perhaps more than just friends. It was excruciating. He said nothing at all for a few minutes and then awkwardly reached over and shook my hand. I blinked a few times and then we walked back to the fire. That was a long ferry home, I can tell you. And for weeks, I heard precisely nothing at all. These were the days before mobile phones, and there was no quick text or WhatsApp to say hello, no emoji to cover the emotional fallout of my confession of love, just silence. I've since found out that he had been so stunned by my revelation, so taken aback that I liked him, that he'd run out of words, and he was also apparently too scared to give me a hug in case I took it the wrong way and jumped on him or something. The peaceful pool of tranquility of things being the way they had always been was in danger of being troubled. And his response was to paddle his wee brain right out into the middle of it and just chill out for a month. While I sat in my room, mortified and despondent, listening to Everybody Hurts by REM on repeat, or Alanis Morissette and Tori Amos if I was feeling slightly more aggrieved. It makes complete sense to me now that the whole proposition came out of left field for him, that it was too much disturbance of the peace, and that he needed a good 28 days to consider his next move. We worked it out in the end. And if I could go back in time, I'd probably have sent him a letter or broken the news of my ardour in smaller, less threatening stages. I know now that a man so intent on safeguarding his peacefulness that he takes 40 years to even consider a different type of underwear wasn't ever going to be able to process a declaration of love from me in a hurry.
Oh, Gyda, brilliant, brilliant. So what does he wear now then?
Oh, he's stuck with the tartan shorts. So that's the next 40 years, I reckon. That's
Well, he's a man who knows what he likes. Let's put it that way. He's not around. No, we get a.
He's in the kitchen. Yeah, do you want me to?
You should tell him to come in and wave to us.
Andy, come on in.
It's always nice to see the reality.
I'll check he's not in his pants.
I love that line about his handshake. Oh my God, what what a nightmare! Oh, there he is. Hey, he's still got plenty of hair.
Yeah, she's been making up stories about me.
Yeah. Andy, I hope you're going to come back with your version of events at some point.
Yeah, it would be slightly different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure you've still got the fervor. So it's been delightful to meet you, Gyda. It's been such a joy. I'm looking forward to hearing from you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So take care over there.
Bye.
I see you. Folks,